Hello, welcome back once again to another episode of Jammin' Dude's Neighborhood. I am so sorry for the long absences. I can just give you a brief, you don't want to hear me rant a lot, but it's been rough. I think I've been saying that, my mother-in-law who lived with us passed away in March, and now recently I was laid off from a job a week ago Friday, and then just this last Thursday we had to take my 12-year-old lab mix dog in for her final appointment. So it's just been it's been some rough personal times for me, but I appreciate all my friends out there who keep the music alive and who keep this going, because this is kind of a place of solace for me. So I really want to say thank you to anyone who watches, and to all my friends, and especially Sean Thompson, because he's been so patient, and he's really one of the most talented human beings I've ever known. I know this has kind of turned into an Odd Logic commercial lately, but it's really because I'm honestly a fan, and I think that this is one of the most criminally overlooked bands as I continue with this series on the Legends of Monta. And I actually have been listening. I listened to this album a couple of weeks ago, and I sat down to do a review, and I was so completely blown away by the flow of the album that I wanted to gather more thoughts on it. And then life happened. But I was listening to it again just now, and I think it was funny how I've talked in length with some other people about this, and for a long time, Legends of Monta Part 1 was my favorite of the two. There were individual songs on there that I liked better, and I really felt like it gave you a lot more bang, and I thought the story flowed really well. I initially thought that Legends of Monta Part 2 kind of kept the story going along and then ended abruptly. But after hearing it again, and then initially having heard it right on the back of Part 1, and now going into Part 2, I feel even stronger now that, yes, there are definitely some strengths to Part 2 that help it to... It's a much more put together, streamlined, and focused album even than Part 1 was. And I probably felt the way that I did about Part 1 initially is because, as I've said in times past, for a long time I was listening to these albums on shuffle, and so I was picking out songs, and I just noticed that I seemed to like more of the bits and pieces of 1 than initially I did the bits and pieces from 2. But I can see now, having heard the albums all the way through as a complete piece, how Part 2 definitely works better as an album, a focused story album, and yet still has enough callbacks to Part 1 to make this a complete piece. I would put Legends of Monta as a whole piece now as one of my favorite progressive metal concept pieces of all time. And trust me, you look around this room, I've been listening to this stuff for a long time. And how Odd Logic and Sean Thompson in general get overlooked is just beyond me. Probably just lack of promotion, which I'm trying to get past. The album opens up brilliantly with the storyteller back at the bedside, and you get the feeling that some time has passed, but now we are going to continue the story. And the opening track, Ruins and Anniversary Tears and Take Us Away, it's kind of, that's another interesting thing about the way that this album is kind of laid out, is that a little bit like Scenes of a Memory, you have tracks that are broken up into acts. You have like a complete song that maybe focuses, they're little like sweet, like small suites. And so the first actual track is Ruins, Anniversary Tears, and Take Us Away. It's a suite of those. But they fit together so well, you don't even really feel like it's three separate songs. But you do kind of see the three sections. It's just that Sean has chosen to name the sections of the song. And it works really well as a complete song. And you almost don't even feel it when it moves brilliantly into the softer piece of The King's Wizard and Assembly of Heroes. The King's Wizard is one of the more atmospheric moments on the album, but it really is just kind of the appetizer for what could be one of the greatest Odd Logic songs ever written, and that's Ship of Lore. Track 4 from this, if I could show, as a matter of fact, I really need to try to put some links. I've been kind of slacking on how much I've been putting. I haven't even really been promoting the show on my page lately, just because of you know, the stuff that I've been going through and feeling kind of down. But at the end of the day, the music does bring me some solace and some passion that that revitalizes me. So I want to thank everyone who makes music for continuing to keep that alive too. But Ship of Lore, I'm definitely going to put up a link for Ship of Lore, because I think it might be one of Odd Logic's best songs. And Sean, you better start working on doing this one live, because it's just an amazing piece. Then it goes into the Stone Lands, which also amazing, a little bit more up-tempo, takes us back up. And then rocks out a little bit more with Deceiver and the Horse Scroll. Oh, I love the Horse Scroll too. Nice sound effects. I really think that Monta Part 2 really hits its stride. Hits its stride. Horse Scroll. See what I did there? When it does hit these darker atmospheric pieces, because we get a little bit of that on Ship of Lore, the Horse Scroll, the King's Wizard. We get darker, slower parts, but you get such an epic feel from it all. The production values on Monta 2 are definitely a big improvement from Part 1, and that is where I feel it's felt the most, is when you get these bombastic, moody, epic pieces that seem to have much more gravity than they did on 1, even though I love the tracks off 1. The second half of the album, Act 4, opens with Power of 5, which is, again, one of the best riffs that this band has ever put out, so I really like that. Then back into a little bit more of a drama piece with Father's Warning. Little mini epic here, more dialogue, more story-oriented, but the drama is played out perfectly with a father and son having a disagreement, and the mood passed between them with the resentment of the son and the commanding of the father is brilliant, brilliantly played. The drama, the music, it all fits together. Then it goes into the Jogger Beast. Jogger Beast, if I had to pick a moment that was a little bit more of a okay point of the album, great riff, but it's just kind of there. It moves the story along. It's shorter. It probably does exactly what it needs to do for the story. I think it would be funner live, just because it's got a nice little jaunty, upbeat riff. Seems to take. It does exactly what it needs to do for the story. I really like that. Then we get into as we get down the home stretch of the album into the final few suites, Betrayal, Shine as One, and then the last scroll and the finale. Let's try that again. And into the finale. It didn't end quite as abruptly as I had thought initially. It's just that the songs are shorter, and with a piece like this, you usually expect some kind of epic finish. You don't get the epic finish. You kind of get some sweets that tie together, and they're all just a little bit shorter. But they do tell the story effectively, and the story does flow really well. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but obviously, good guys win, bad guys lose. Yay! And Sean's storytelling, I think here, like in the past, I think I criticized a little bit of the storytelling on Penny for Your Thoughts. The storytelling here, I think, is top notch. And I would suggest, I'm going to also put up some links where you can download Monta parts 1 and 2. Please, please, please support progressive metal, especially on a small scale. Sean really deserves it. He put his heart, sweat, blood, and tears into these Monta albums, and it really shows. They're amazing, amazing pieces of work. So, coming down the home stretch on this series. I'm going to try to get to the next one a little sooner. We're going to the debut album, Parallax Panorama, and all I can say is that I'm really excited for the next one, because even though it's the most demo sounding of all the Odd Logic albums, I think it probably has some of the strongest ideas, song ideas in the entire catalog. But you kind of have to be prepared for it to be, it's their, if you're a Dream Theater fan, this is their When Dream and Day Unite. It's, you have to be more into the songs and overlook some of the faults of the production. But really, please check out Legends of Monta Part 1 and Part 2. Brilliant, brilliant albums. Especially, I'm going to be putting up, hopefully, some links for Ship of Lore and Power of Five. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's some incredible riffs to be had here. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for sticking with me. Thank you for being patient. I love what I do. I love what you guys do. Please go out and listen to the album and talk about the album. Tell everybody what a fantastic album this is. And I will see you next time on Jammin' Dude's Neighborhood. Go Hawks.